Humanity's last hope is fighting against a foe larger than life. On the ground, there are casualties left and right. They fight in a zero-gravity war zone using blood-draining spears to kill the smaller enemies up front. Most people inside the fortress prepare for their demise, while the others prepare an attack. The final attack. If this doesn't go to plan, well, I think we all know what happens next. And look at that. It worked. Who could have guessed? Everything I've said so far is pretty run-of-the-mill post-apocalyptic anime stuff. Other than some unique fighting gear, it's been done before. The show is, put simply, predictable. Or at least that's what I thought. But in reality, I couldn't have been further from the truth. What I just described was a 7-minute section from the first episode in the latter half of it, and it's the part right before the plot twist that made me quit the show. But it's been years since then, so to see if I was judging a book by its first episode or not, I rewatched the series start to finish. And now that that's out of the way, let me start from the beginning. Once upon a time, monsters called the Gadol suddenly appeared and wiped out 90% of the human population. Sometime later, the Gears, soldiers part of an anti-Gadol force called the Power, built a weaponized version of Hal's moving castle. Most of the interior is a storage tank for Gadol blood, which they call Oxion, and it also happens to be the fuel source for the fortress. What was left of humanity moved into the tank, and now those people are referred to as tankers. Oh, and what's the name of this rolling fortress, you might ask? Well, they call it... The story follows Natsume, a tanker who wants to join the Power. Problem is, there are less than 200 tankers who have actually been accepted. Her application gets rejected and she's assigned to a different job, cleaning Gadol chunk like a window washer. Her boss, Kaburagi, is a bit of a silent type. He isn't a grouchy old man, but he's only a decade or two away from it. After a day or two of working her new job, she decides that she's gonna show up to her grumpy boss's house in the middle of the night to tell him to throw a welcome party for her. The only thing crazier than that is him actually saying yes and then proceeding to let her in his house. Yeah, that'd be crazy, right? She then proceeds to get absolutely wasted while she complains about how she didn't get the job she wanted. But then, out of nowhere, a vicious monster appears. It turns out that Kaburagi has been keeping a Gadol as a pet, and she ends up naming the small beluga whale Pipe. Don't know why. You really don't gotta worry about Pipe though, because he's really not that important to the story. Then Kaburagi is like, oh fuck, ah shit. Then Kaburagi is like, don't you dare name my whale dog. And then he's like, didn't your dad get killed by one of those things? Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. The show starts from the perspective of 3 researchers as they look through the remains of an abandoned city, and they find something that none of them can explain. Something is off, not just with the strange object, but also with the world they inhabit. It's almost like...
Hey Daddy, look at this weird thing I just found. I think it might be poisonous, but don't worry, it only poked me twice.
As you could probably guess, this dumb kid right here is Natsume, and she decided it was as good a day as any for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. Spoiler alert, it was not. They drove as fast as they could, but sadly, a car is no match for a porcupine dinosaur. As Natsume slowly regains consciousness, her father tells her that he'll be back soon. Spoiler alert, he was not. Alright, back to the present. After Natsume crashes her boss's place, it goes to the next scene. And I have no idea how to segue this, so I'm just gonna do what the show did and fade to black. In the dark alleys of the tank, a drunk man is in search of something. A spot to take a piss. But before he can even get his hands on his precious Johnson, he drops dead. He's probably not the first to go missing. A fortress is good at keeping things out, but it's good at keeping things in. People, secrets, bugs, anything really. Maybe the tank isn't the safe haven everyone thinks it is. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Which brings me back to how I started this video. Natsume and Kaburagi are on cleaning duty when the giant Gadol appears. How they didn't see it coming earlier beats me, but as they're about to leave, this happens. Thankfully, they can survive due to the zero-gravity zones deployed on the ground. Unthankfully, however, that doesn't change the fact that they are falling into a war zone. Thankfully, however, Kaburagi knows a thing or two about kicking Gadol ass, apparently. Unthankfully, however, no matter how good he is, no single person could take down a Gadol that big. Cut to control room. The Gadol is finally in range for the attack. Stage 1 of the operation, fire the blood-sucking harpoons. Stage 2, long, unnecessary arming sequence. Stage 3, send that ugly, fat whale back to hell. The end. Wait, what's happening? What the fuck am I looking at? Is that Penny from Gumball? What the fuck is this? Did I accidentally change the channel or something? Oh, I guess the episode's over now, okay. I'm sure most of you are wondering what you just watched, because I know I was. This is where I quit the show, but I'm not going to elaborate on why just yet. For now, just pretend like you never saw this. Trust me when I say that this video will make a lot more sense if you just completely forget about this for now. And if you've already seen the show, I'm sorry. I wrote this with people who've never seen it in mind. So for now, if you can, I recommend that you pretend that you haven't seen it. I promise I'll explain it later. The battle is over, but not without its casualties. And as the dust settles, Kaburagi looks to Natsume and asks if this is really what she wants. A ceremony is held to honor those lost in battle. Comrades, friends, family, all gathered to mourn the ones they love. An all too familiar type of occasion for Kaburagi. Alright, now it's time for the real plot twist. Kaburagi used to have blue hair. Oh yeah, and apparently he used to be in the power. Probably should have mentioned that one first. But whatever. Anyways, he wasn't just a soldier. He was one of the best soldiers they had. The whole unit wasn't that bad either. But one day, one of his unit members, Mikey, started improving fast. Abnormally fast. Faster than Kaburagi could keep up with. And maybe it was just because Mikey got too cocky, but he disappeared soon after and was never seen again. Who's to say what happened to him, but this affected Kaburagi so much that he quit the power that same day. After that, he became the glorified window washer that you know him as, and he never looked back. After that, we're taken back to the present, where Natsume is still talking about joining the power. Kaburagi tells her to fuck off because, quote, nothing is going to change his—
Are you sure?
Why won't you train me?
I'm living in this cage now. My whole routine is set until the day I die, and we're not far from it now.
Later that night, she sees her boss walking by and does what any normal person would do in that situation. She drops everything to go chase her boss down for no apparent reason. As she follows him through the twists and turns of the shadowy alleys, she can't help but question where he's going. But that thought quickly fades away to make room for a new one. What is he doing? She says to herself that there must be a reasonable explanation for this. Her boss is a good guy, or at the very least, she thinks so. Who was the guy on the ground, and what was Kaburagi doing with him? I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for this, right? The next day, Kaburagi finally caves in and decides that he's gonna teach her how to fight.
What exactly changed your mind about helping me become a soldier?
Good question. Guess I was curious about how a bug could get by in this world.
And he takes her to the Gears headquarters to get some new gear. They continue to train for a while, but something is holding her back. So of course she goes to complain about it to Kaburagi. He then takes her to get a new replacement arm that can shoot spears. Then bad thing happens and Natsume chases after the whale dog and saves it from being eaten. And then this chick is like, who the fuck are you? And then she's like, actually I don't work here. And then she's like, well now you do. And then Natsume is like,
That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
But the joy of finally joining the power wouldn't last long. When they get back to headquarters, Natsume and the other Gears are briefed on the next attack. They're tasked with taking out a Gadol lair known as the Nest, but they have one main target, the Alpha. This will be the biggest fight in the history of Deca-Dence, and it's commencing tomorrow. As the power anticipates for the battle, Kaburagi visits Natsume. He tells her that this time is different, and she's not ready for what's to come. She needs to stay back.
You won't succeed, and the Gadol aren't going anywhere.
We found the nest. We can take out all of them in one shot.
There is no nest in the first place.
Why are you lying to me?
I'm not lying.
Then why would they say they found the nest?
How long do you think this damn war has been going on? The game wasn't meant... You won't make it through this. Natsume, I'm begging you, stay home.
Get off of me!
Why don't you get it? I'm trying to save your life! Stay home, Natsume. was no other way.
And with that, she quits the power never to return again. Did you actually think I was being serious? Of course she didn't quit. This is anime we're talking about. I mean, she was going to, but then she got a pep talk from the fan service character and was totally fine and dandy after that. But Kaburagi was right. She wasn't ready, but she wasn't the only one who wasn't prepared. And then, like an angel sent from the part of heaven that's responsible for cheesy story tropes, he shows up just in the nick of time to save the day. The power had completed their objective and won the war. Oh wait, did I say war? Sorry, I meant to say they won the battle. Not even Kaburagi can take that thing down, even if he is using 500% of his friendship power. There's only one way to kill something like this. They needed to activate Deca-Dence. And look at that, it worked. Again. They had finally won.
What's up? We won the final battle. You can smile.
Just hush.
But what they had won was merely one battle in a never-ending ocean of war. This moment happens in episode 5, but it feels like a season finale. It's a moment I've only come to appreciate as of writing the script, and there's a good reason for that. But I'm gonna wait to tell you why.
Boss, did you know that this...
Take good care of Pipe.
I trust that you already know what brought about this meeting.
Yeah.
Repeat after me. The world must be free of bugs.
The world will be free. Guess I was curious about how a bug could get by in this world, if someone gave it a chance.
Okay, and when you say bug...
I mean you. Thanks to bugs.
Okay, hold on. Before we continue, I want you to ask yourself something. What questions do you have about the show so far? What confuses you? What intrigues you? What about the world and characters makes you curious? You can pause the video right here if you'd like a second to think about it. Or don't, I really don't give a fuck. Personally, I would be asking myself questions like, what is a bug? What are the Gadol? And did Kaburagi know that this would happen? How much did he know? And was he a part of this in some way? And most importantly, why was he helping Natsume? Well, what if I told you that I've been lying up until this point? What if I told you that the show had already answered every single one of those questions? But why would I do that? Well, it was to prove a point, of course. I saw a couple of people compare Deca-Dence to AOT, which is a comparison I also made myself. However, I saw it as extremely superficial, but when I stripped the story of its context, I realized that they have a lot more in common than I initially thought. However, the way that the story is presented to the viewer is completely different. I'll explain why this is later, but before I do, I think it's about time I explain everything. And to do so, I gotta rewind the video a little bit. The battle is over, but not without its casualties. And as the dust settles, Kaburagi looks to Natsume and asks if this is really what she wants. A ceremony is held to honor those lost in battle. Comrades, friends, family, all gathered to mourn the ones they love.
Deca-Dence is a highly immersive MMORPG. Experience gaming like never before. Become a gear and board Deca-Dence, a rolling fortress built for battle. Deca-Dence, a game that feels real because it is real. The future of gaming is now. Are you ready for it?
So, like, what happens when you die? Your avatar is a physical object, meaning player death is permanent. Damn, that seems stressful.
I wish I could say I came up with that skit myself, but I can't because it's not a skit. This is the big plot twist of the series. The thing that's supposed to hook the viewer. And if I were to guess, I would say it probably did the opposite for a lot of people, myself included. When I saw this, my first thought was, oh, okay, so everything I just watched was completely pointless. Got it. Every emotional moment immediately felt absolutely worthless. I felt tricked into caring about characters who were just role-playing in a fucking video game, and that's the reason I quit the show. However, if I had continued watching, I would have realized that this isn't the full story. What's actually going on is a lot stranger. So basically, in episode 2, it's revealed that all of the gears are controlled by cyborgs, but all of the tankers are human and are unaware that they live in a game. This is the real Kaburagi. He remotely controls an avatar on Earth from a spaceship in, you guessed it, space. Apparently, he used to be a top player on the leaderboards, and back in his golden years, he told his friend, Mikey, how to release his limiter, which is as stupid as it sounds. When they get hurt, they feel pain, but if they release their limiter, they gain extra power in exchange for taking the risk of actually getting hurt. You die in game, you die in real life type shit. Doing this is not allowed, and the price to pay for doing so is your life. So Purple Dr. Doofenshmirtz finds out about this, captures Kaburagi, and he's like,
By day, you work in armor repair, and by night, you work for me as a sex worker.
okay, no, I'm joking with you. What he actually does is he pulls out a PowerPoint presentation. Basically, people who cause issues for the system are considered bugs, and the system eliminates anyone it considers to be a bug using chips placed inside their necks. So his new job is to recover the chips placed inside the humans and report any bugs he finds. Oh, and Mikey gets reused if that wasn't clear enough already, but his other friends get sent to a correction facility because they refused to take orders. Why they refused is beyond me. If I was presented with the option to either wash windows and grab a couple chips from some dead bodies every once in a while, or go to prison for the rest of my life, I know which one I'm picking. After that little flashback, we're taken back to the present, where Kaburagi is reminiscing on this, and he thinks to himself, "Fuck you, Dad, you can't tell me what to do. I'm gonna kiss myself." And the scene that directly follows is the moment where Natsume is begging him to train her.
Why won't you train me?
I'm living in this cage now. My whole routine is set until the day I die, and we're not far from it now.
The big difference, and arguably the only difference between what I've told you and what actually happens in the show, is that I cut most of Kaburagi's scenes, and making that seemingly small change completely flipped my perspective on the show. This whole scene is completely recontextualized when you have this information, and it's far from the best example. Remember the mysterious person roaming the dark alleys that turned out to be Kaburagi? Yeah, well, you know that it's Kaburagi from the start. So in episode 2, when Natsume caught him in the act, the viewer is already well aware of this information. Also, after she sees him, she doesn't just walk away, she confronts him.
You can't do things like this!
For yours to be the last chip I pull, who would have guessed? Hold on. It's not processing you. Does this mean that the system doesn't recognize that girl? A bug?
Nothing you've said to me makes a damn bit of sense, boss. But what's important here is that you're pickpocketing that passed out guy!
This scene just feels strange to me. It's a scene that's trying to be taken seriously, but it's revealing information that we've already known from episode 1. And not only that, but we know exactly why he's doing this from the explanation that occurred minutes prior. And the cherry on top is that Natsume seemingly just forgets that this interaction even happened by the time it cuts to the next scene. And now for my final example. While the Gears were briefed on the attack against the nest, Kaburagi got a briefing of his own. The event is unwinnable, but when it's over, when Deca-Dence is left in ruin, heroes, the strongest of the Gears, will save what's left of the world, and he's been chosen to be one of them.
You won't succeed, and the Godal aren't going anywhere. There is no nest in the first place. I'm not lying. The game wasn't meant...
When Kaburagi kills the Alpha, he's affecting the storyline, which in turn causes this, which leads to this, which leads to this. Do you have erectile dysfunction? When I watched this scene, I couldn't have felt any more indifferent. The thought that this was supposed to be a climactic moment didn't even cross my mind. But as I looked back on this during the writing of the script, after I had started to remove context, I started to see what I think was the intended vision for the show. And I also started to see some of the less surface level connections to AOT. The mystery of where the Titans come from is if not the core of AOT's story. If you had known everything from the start, the story as you know it would be unrecognizable, and probably for the worst. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Kaburagi is just Deca-Dence's version of Reiner. They both lied about who they are and where they're from. They both fight monsters pretending to protect a fortress and the people inside it, and they'll kill anyone who gets in the way of their real mission. The only problem with that is that Kaburagi has the same amount, if not more, screen time than Natsume. Just imagine for a second what Attack on Titan would look like if half of the story was told from Reiner's perspective. You would be waiting for Eren and the others to catch catch up with everything you already know as the viewer for most of the show. It's an interesting thought, however, it would only work if Reiner was the main character. And even then, I think you've already lost the appeal of AOT at that point. If I haven't made it clear by now, I believe that Deca-Dence was inspired by AOT, and maybe the comparisons are just coincidence. But if it's true, I would say that the people behind the project have a major lack of understanding when it comes to what makes Attack on Titan good. Mystery is a genre that I don't think many people would associate with Attack on Titan, but personally, I couldn't think of a more fitting genre to describe it. Just like any good mystery, it's constantly making the characters and the viewer ask questions, and rewatching it doesn't ruin it necessarily. It just gives you a new perspective to enjoy it from. One of the problems with Deca-Dence is that, intentional or not, it's seemingly trying to be the next AOT without the mystery element. And that's like trying to be the next Monty Python without the comedy element.
If you do not agree to my commands, then I shall... Jesus Christ!
Before I give my final thoughts, I just want to mention some of the things about the show that just piss me off, to be quite frank. To be quite frank with you. Before I give my... Deca-Dence tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the world by the time you're done with episode 3, which is sad because I wish the show made me want to learn more about it. But instead, I just found myself wishing for the handful of PowerPoint exposition dumps to be over with. So you understand what I'm talking about, I'm just gonna read out one of them verbatim.
In the latter half of the 2400s, the air pollution index reached lethal levels, and the Earth became increasingly inhospitable to life. The concept of nations perished, and the corporations with global influence developed their own cyborgs. Humanity only hurtled on towards extinction, and cyborg numbers grew explosively. In light of the situation, Solid Quake, which was then already in a global position of leadership, acquired
The rights to all humanity and installed a giant dome on the Eurasia continent. You know, if I had known you could just buy the rights to all of humanity, I would have done it a long time ago. Why didn't anyone tell me I could do that? I mean, that sounds great. Like, who the fuck is selling the rights to all of humanity? Wouldn't it be more appropriate to say they enslaved everybody? To give it the benefit of the doubt, there is a possibility that was just a joke. Do I think that's the case? No, not really. Do I think that maybe I'm just being nitpicky? Perhaps. But I'm still gonna put this in the video. I cut that exposition short due to some of it being redundant, but one thing that's brought up that I want to point out is that they say Deca-Dence is an entertainment facility. This makes sense at first. It's a video game, right? But if you just take 2 seconds to think about it, it makes absolutely no sense. All you have to do is ask yourself one simple question for this whole premise to crumble. Who is this entertainment facility for? It's for the robots, that much is made clear. However, it's their job to play the game, but it's still treated like a game by some of the players. So is it optional or is it mandatory? And if it is optional, what do the cyborgs who don't play the game do exactly? Nothing? Not to mention the even more blaring issue being, why do robots need entertainment? And I know that in the show they are referred to as cyborgs, but don't let that fool you. They are 100% machine, or at least it's heavily implied that they are. I could keep going on, but honestly it's not worth my time or yours for me to point out every single plot hole. That's not what this video is about. So it's time to get back on track for, you know, what the video is actually. I saw a couple people say that the show needed another season or 2, and while I do see where they're coming from, I think that statement undermines the more fundamental issues with the show. A lot of concepts are touched on but never expanded upon. It feels like it has everything to say and nothing to say all at the same time. Mix that with a generic setting, pseudo-philosophical themes that anyone and their mother could get behind, and a somewhat predictable plot outside of the big plot twist at the very beginning, and you get a show that struggles to carve out a unique and meaningful identity for itself. The show is as wide as an ocean and as deep as a kiddie pool, the width being the amount of ideas and the depth being where they went with them. The main message of the series can be summed up into one simple phrase: it's not a bug, it's a feature. If the show was about how your weaknesses can sometimes be your strengths, I could get behind that. But more emphasis is put on bugs just being people who know too much and cyborgs who disobey orders. At the very best, the show is a little messy and generic, but it still has a lot of passion put into it. At worst, it's just another anime trying to imitate what every other popular anime was doing at the time. Personally, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but don't just take my word for it. If at any point this video so far has made you somewhat interested in the show, or you just want to know how it ends, I encourage you to check it out for yourself so you can form your own opinions instead of just listening to some stranger on the internet ramble for however long it's been. With that out of the way, it's time for my final thoughts. But really quick, I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot if you were to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 69 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think I might actually be able to do it as long as I can keep up with my rigorous upload schedule. A good story is a conversation between the storyteller and the viewer, and Deca-Dence answers every single question before anybody asked. And the few questions I did ask never got answered. When you give the viewer too much information, you lose the suspense, you lose the mystery, and above all else, you lose those moments of oh fuck that really leave an impression on you. There was a major disconnect between me and the characters. When you have too much extra information over the main characters and/or character, it becomes harder and harder to relate. You start to view them from an outside perspective, and ironically, it's almost like watching over a colony of bugs. So, plot twists. What's the difference between a good one and a bad one? Well, I'm not the arbiter of good plot twists, so I can't give you a definitive answer to that, but I can give you some final words of wisdom. No matter how good you think your characters are, no matter how good your idea is, and no matter how shocking your plot twist might be, just like a good joke, it's not about the setup, and it's not about the punchline. It's about the delivery. It's about the motherfucking delivery. Let's fucking go! Whoa! Yeah! That's a wrap! Let's go!
Antidepressants, we feeling good today. Maybe I'm gonna give her some attention. This lady batshit crazy, yeah, she want me no protection. Pause. I ain't gonna do none of that shit. Just grab my meat, I ain't taking no pic. She tap my name right under her lip. I did 1, 2, like look at these flames in front of ice. I need a pico. Yeah, I just had book, call me Nemo. Keep it wet outside, Al Pacino. A6 on my feet, cause I'm a cheapo. Walk out 20X from the Nino. Costco, hot all day, yeah, she deep throat. Me and the keys, hit that bingo.